Hi everyone, you're listening to Creating Futures from SALT, the show that speaks to incredible people on their career journey.
The idea for OneCart really came as more of a personal need, and they just raised like a few $100 million, and I was like, okay, so I'm not that crazy. I had the great opportunity to spend like the first year of my son's life with him, but for now I think that over the course of 15 years plus, I've built up experience in a broad range of sectors.
Welcome to the Creating Futures podcast. My name is Vicky Pistovsky and I'm the practice manager at SALT South Africa, focusing on product and experience design. Today with us we have Lynton Peters. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lynton Peters. I'm a corporate exec, so an entrepreneur and now investor. I have over 15 years experience in a mixture of engineering, strategic consulting, and innovation, both locally and internationally. Most recent business that I founded was OneCart, which is an on-demand grocery delivery business, which I grew to over 1,000 employees and recently sold to Walmart, which is one of the biggest.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you started out your career, did you ever imagine that you would have founded and sold a company, and especially to the likes of Walmart?
No. I think, starting off my career, I don't think I could ever have imagined that. But when I started my career in engineering as an engineer in training, working in the lab, you kind of idolize your seniors and your peers.
Yeah.
So I think, what I probably wanted to be was, maybe a chief engineer or things like that. But then as I after a few years, I realized that I didn't want to be in engineering anymore. So that I moved over into consulting. And I think, probably then I wanted to be a partner in a firm. And it was really only when I moved to Singapore that I saw what it was like and had the experience of being on the other side of the table, that I thought, this is probably something that I'd like to do.
So speaking of your time in the consulting space, and you had this engineering background that moved to Singapore, how did you come up with the idea for OneCart?
Yeah, so I moved to Singapore when I was pretty much 26 years old. And I was working in corporate. And at the time, every weekend, we used to do grocery shopping. And this was after a Friday night out. And it was Saturday mornings at the grocery store. And what I saw was that we'd go and we'd buy groceries from a place. Then we'd, probably get the wine from somewhere else. We'd go to the farmer's market. And this really took like most of the morning away. And, just one day standing in the queues in one of the stores, I thought to myself, there must be a better way. So how cool if you could develop a product where you shop from multiple stores and get it delivered quicker than you could actually do it yourself.
So what was it specifically about the idea that convinced you that, this could really have potential?
Yeah, so I was working in corporate, and my background was, engineering, and then I was in business consulting and strategic consulting. And I was essentially on the other side of the table. So I'd consult to other companies and startups about, their journey, how to improve, how to develop their strategies. So naturally, I was a skeptic, right? And I think that I had the idea, over beers or speaking to friends about it, and then we kept on doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I thought, could this be possible? And then I started doing, a technical feasibility, seeing if, this was possible. Because bear in mind, this is probably 2016. In South Africa, you're getting your groceries delivered in 5 days. So could you get it delivered in a day? So I think, I was doing all of this research, the market research, and to determine if it was feasible. And it was while I was doing this research that I actually came across a company that was in the US that was trying to do something similar. And they just raised like a few $100 million. And I was like, okay, so I'm not that crazy. This could be...
There's the convincing side.
Yeah, exactly.
Will you walk us through the journey on how you came to the decision to leave corporate and make the unsafe decision of becoming a founder?
I had a great opportunity actually at the age of 26 to go and build a team of innovation consultants at a global firm with the partners. And we started off from a team of just myself and the partners, and we ended up building out the largest research and development consulting firm in Singapore within 4 years. And then I actually was then asked to come back to South Africa because they realized that there was a South African in Singapore doing this, and they asked me to come and build out a team here. It was during this time that I actually had the idea for OneCart. That was probably one of the toughest decisions that I had to make. I think for me, it was passion that sort of pulled me away into OneCart. But practically how I decided to do it was I did it in sort of phases. So initially I was working on the concept at night after work until I had developed a basic prototype, the ugliest looking version of a website that you see. And then I sort of decided to reduce my hours, to start spending a bit more time in the company, which then gave me the ability to look for a co-founder, to begin to look for investment, to start to do some market research. And then I reduced my hours, and then I had some people working in the business. And thereafter, about 6 months into the business actually operating, was when I decided to fully take the plunge and go in full-time as CEO.
So there was never any stage in your career where you thought you wanted to become a founder. It just, you had this idea, you ran with it as a side hustle, and then moved into it.
I always say I kind of became an accidental entrepreneur because I was in the corporate track, and I was in there. I think the first time that I thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur was when I was in Singapore, chatting to all of these cool entrepreneurs developing all of this this like fancy stuff, and I just thought I'd want to do that. But at that time, I had no idea how I was going to do it or what the idea was. But then, obviously, when OneCart came about, I naturally gravitated towards it.
But with so much that's changed, obviously, since 2016, do you think the skills of a founder that they need in order to succeed have now changed?
Definitely. I think that there's certain things that have changed. And then there's certain things that, as the skills of a founder, they remain the same. I think that, as I think about, what's changed, I mean, there's been so many advances in technology, and there's been rapid advances in technology. So I think that, when I was developing a startup, maybe in 2015 or 2016, to be a tech founder, you may have needed to have the expertise, or you could get like a strong CTO in that respect. But I think that now a lot has changed where if you're a startup founder or entrepreneur, I think, either you have to be technical or just have like that broad-based understanding in order for you to make certain decisions and drive, business insights. I think also what's probably changed is with COVID.
Yeah.
So
Lots changed.
Yeah, a lot's changed, right? So remote working. So normally, when you're building product and you're doing innovation, it's great when everyone's together. Yeah. But now there's a preference for people to be remote, and you kind of got to figure out how to do that, right? So these days, founders, whether you like it or not, you're working with teams that are global, and you just continue to roll with that. But I think that, there's certain skills as a founder that always remain the same. And that's in every tech startup. So even now when I look at investing, when I'm advising businesses, I think that, every startup or every company needs a visionary and that guy that's just like the evangelist talking about this.
That's just Steve Jobs.
Pretty much, like exactly like that, like the Steve Jobs. And I think that every successful founder that I've seen or met or spoke to, there's this certain mental resilience and toughness that you definitely need, because you're going to go through so many ups and downs, probably like 10 times. So it's easy to lose faith. But those are the characteristics that I think changed and stayed the same.
What would you say, is it trickier now to be a founder, or is it easier because now with remote access you can have it, or is the remote kind of a double-edged sword?
I think that for me personally, I think that it could be a double-edged sword. But at the same time, there's so many tools today that are being developed, like right now as we speak, that promote and foster, this collaboration. I mean, I have guys that I advise where the founders started sitting in New York. He has another team here in Cape Town, then in Europe, and they're building great products. But I think that it also it comes down to the leaders and how you actually lead your team, because whereas previously you're building businesses and you're in the office, whereas the guys that are coming into the workforce today, I think expect something different, right? Expect a different type of leader and different type of structure, sort of flat structure. People are looking more for purpose these days. So I think that used in the right way, it can be amazing.
And speaking of leadership, so you scaled OneCart from being one person yourself to over 200 people within 4 years, which is an amazing feat. Well done. But what was your hiring strategy and how did that evolve as the business grew?
So there's actually 200 in the office and about 1,000 across South Africa.
So even more.
So 200 in the office, and then the nature of our business required us to have shoppers and drivers across the country and have a distributed workforce. I think that the hiring strategy really evolved rapidly as well in the 4 years. So in the early stages, it was really more about getting people that were versatile and could wear multiple hats. Actually, just people that wanted to be a part of this like crazy idea that we were starting at the time. And then as we started to grow and scale up, we started to build a core team. So then you needed to obviously hire for specific roles in tech, marketing, operations. And naturally that meant, moving like the chess pieces as you needed to. As we grew after that, it was about, putting the processes in place. So in order for us to do that, it was really about, ensuring that everyone that we got in was a cultural fit, for the business, because there came a time where, initially you were just like interviewing everyone and then you couldn't, right? So how do you ensure that you are still able to have the people that you want in the business? So what we had to do there was make sure they align with our culture. The way that we really did that was we had a set of values in our team. So we had like a set of core values in our company, and we had one main value in our business which was customer centricity, which anyone in tech, marketing, or operations were aligned on, and every single leader was. So I think that really aligned us in terms of the culture that we wanted, and also everyone knew that we were a flat structure. It was we wanted everyone to be able to challenge. So it wasn't a typical corporate. So I think as we put the processes and systems in place, as long as we had the right culture, obviously, you have your recruiters, your recruitment managers and things like that. It really was part of that. And then as we began to really scale and expand our business, because we had one part, which was just OneCart, which was our consumer-facing platform. And then we used to run services for key retailers across the country as well.
Would you say it was easier to hire in the startup phase or once you got scaled?
I really preferred hiring in the startup phase. It was much easier.
Do
Yeah.
you think it's because you just would try to find people who had the passion, not as necessarily the skill set, because you can train the skills?
Yeah,
As they
definitely.
say.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that was it. It was like people that were just passionate about it. I mean, the first person that I hired was my co-founder, and I met him, and he was kind of in the Cape Town startup scene. And I remember the first day I met him, I told him about the business when I moved back to South Africa in 2016. He was like, "Man, this is crazy. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm keen to do it." And those are the types of people we hired initially, and it was fun. After a while, once you put the process together and you put it in place, it's just mechanical.
Yeah, and I also know that coming from the space where you are in a startup, you're starting to scale, you don't want to lose that culture
Yes.
and start getting that corporate sort of hat put on you.
Yes.
Because then things do change and the dynamics do change. But speaking of corporate hats, I wanted to also ask you that, you received an offer for OneCart from Walmart. So previously you were raising capital, or while you were raising capital actually.
Yes.
And so it must have felt like a huge mindset shift. Like, do I keep the business? Do I sell it? So how did you make that decision? How did you decide that actually, I've been working on this for 4 years, but let me part with it now?
Yeah. I would say everything's for sale at the right price. Maybe we will have to say. So how we began, so we actually went out to do a strategic capital raise on the business. And so we were growing rapidly. And then since inception, essentially the business was growing between 400 to 600% year on year. And then when COVID hit, we were then growing at four-digit percentages, like almost overnight. So we went from a business that was, probably a few hundred employees, and we ramped up. And I think at one stage we hired about 300 shoppers or drivers in like 2 weeks. So this business was rapidly growing. And what we saw was that we had moved our forecasts sort of 5 years in the future. So that was great for us. But then we realized that we needed much more capital in order for us to survive and to aggressively expand. So we actually went out to raise 100 million rand in venture capital. And, it was very strategic. So we had a few guys and we were confident on our strategy and how we were going to execute it. And it was, one of the bidders came back and said, "Look, we love the business, but we don't want to take like this piece. We don't want to be a minority share. We want to take over this business at the right time." And initially, I was, I didn't know what to think. But, so I had a great board and a great board of advisors. And I had to consider, being able to generate returns for shareholders. I had to think about my team who are also shareholders and had been in this business now for a few years. And I also had to think about, okay, what would this business actually need to take it to the next level? So thinking about all of this, thinking about, where COVID was, the market, the fact that we expanded, development, generating those returns, it became clearer, and it was a decision that we took.
Who would you say is, apart from OneCart, is the best in the last mile delivery space? Are you allowed to?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, even if I've stepped down. What I can say is that, so we have developed solutions, the tech and logistics for a few retailers. I think that this space is really heating up. And I think that, there may be some players that are at the forefront now, but I think that in 2024, a lot of the other players are going to aggressively expand into the space. And I think we're going to see a good market for the consumers, and even in like the general consumer market with like Amazon coming in as well.
What is your opinion on Amazon coming down?
I think that Takealot is established, which is good. It's a South African brand. A lot of people resonate with it. I think that Walmart are also going to develop a presence or continue developing their presence with Massmart. And I think with Amazon, I think that it will take time. I think that it will take time for them to do it. And I don't think that you should expect anything big yet.
So none of the retailers, e-commerce clients should be panicking at the moment with Amazon coming down.
Not at the moment.
So what was the moment in your career, because you're talking about, making big moves and selling, and what made the biggest impact for you that you would say in your approach of working, and why?
In my approach of working, I think it was the different types of experience and exposure that I had. So for me, I started off in engineering. I was an engineer sitting in the lab. I realized that wasn't for me. And so I moved into consulting and business, and that was great. But I think when I moved over to Singapore, where I spent about 5 years, that really made like the biggest difference for me in my career. I think twofold: the international experience was great, the travel was great, but also, just to be able to participate on a global level. I think it really gave me the confidence, and it accelerated my development to know that, you can do this.
And what would be sort of a tip that you would give to someone who's maybe sitting in your position, having an engineering background or marketing or something, and they're in consulting now, and they've got this great idea that they think it's great. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, we don't know.
Yeah.
What would your tip be for that potential founder in the making?
Yeah, sure. I think that, for me, it's always to separate emotion out of it and to really analyze and to say, does this business have potential? If someone has engineering and maybe, marketing experience, that's great. So, they have a few of what's required. But, to analyze, does this idea have a business model? What is the business model for it? Can it generate returns? How big is the market for this business? And how much of this market do I actually want to capture? And I think that, if you can answer those questions to say that, there's a big market for this, it's not a saturated market. There's potentially, other players that are considering this as well internationally, which also gives them a benchmark to know that this idea is viable, similar to when I thought OneCart was crazy. I knew that there was another player overseas that was doing this. I think that, these are all the things that you should consider and do it on emotion.
It's always hard to separate emotion as human beings.
Yes.
But through your career journey and everything that you've experienced and gone through, going through tech, being a founder, I'm very curious to know, when you were younger, what was it that you wanted to be when you grew up?
When I was growing up, I actually wanted to be a pilot. Yeah, so I think I'm actually doing my pilot's license at the moment. That was it. I think I always had my head in the clouds, but now that I think about it and reflect, I'm glad I chose this path.
Now that you've obviously stepped down as CEO from OneCart, what is the next big thing that you're going to be doing? What is the next step for you?
Yeah, sure. So for me, actually, when I stepped down as CEO in Feb of last year. We're in 2024 now. I actually just needed to take a break. I mean, it was literally 5 years of intense building. So I did that. I had the great opportunity to spend like the first year of my son's life with him, which was amazing. And I actually focused on things outside of tech. So I opened up a cocktail bar. I got into various different initiatives. But for now, I think that, over the course of, 15 years plus, I've built up, experience in a broad range of sectors, whether it's engineering, consulting, innovation, as well as entrepreneurship and investment. So I don't necessarily have like the next big idea at the moment, but it's more about right now helping businesses, whether they're startups, helping them, scale and advising them, as well as corporates. And for me, I think that, I'm finally ready to again to plant myself somewhere where I have the ability to do that.
So while you're helping startups scale or corporate companies scale, or even your next big thing, what would be some of the hiring strategy lessons that you'll take from OneCart moving forward?
Right. So for me, always people first. You have great resumes, that you see on paper. But for me, it's always about culture and passion. You can always teach people certain skill sets, but there's certain aptitudes and attributes that you can't necessarily always instill. And for me, it's always about people first. I think that, there's certain cultures in a business that really drive innovation, and there's certain cultures in a business that they're really hamper it as well. So in any organization that I'm in, or any strategy that you get involved in, it's about ensuring that you get the right people that are natural into those environments, and provide them with the right tools that enable them to have the best chance of success.
So some of the key takeaways, one thing that's definitely stood out is that you have to have a plan in order to exit. You have to develop a plan and exit strategy. You can't just, chuck up your arms and say, I'm out.
Yeah, no, you definitely can't do that, especially when there's investors involved. There always has to be a strategic plan for you to exit your business in whatever capacity that is.
The start of the business, when you founded it, your hiring strategy, you were saying that it was the people, the passion, that was the most important when you were growing the business.
Yeah, definitely. I think that at every point in the business, I think that, people are number one. Your people are what make your business.
And also one thing that you mentioned as well with kind of starting the OneCart journey of yours, that you have to be quite unemotional as well, leaving a corporate space, looking at the numbers, seeing does this make viable sense, and building those MVPs or minimum viable product.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's so important because we can be so passionate about an idea we have or something, but to understand, okay, is this going to be viable technically, commercially, and will people, be able to buy into this idea? Because a lot of founders as well would jump into something without establishing, these principles. And you'd rather do it up front than waste, 6 to 12 months.
Once more, thanks again, Lynton, for joining us on the podcast. It's been so wonderful hearing your insights and what you've had to say about your journey. I want to shamelessly plug you because I know you're still figuring out what it is that you're wanting to do next, and you're helping with consulting. But how can our listeners view the rest of your journey? How can they keep up with your story?
Yeah, Nikki, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. The listeners can follow me on LinkedIn or even Instagram. Both names, Lynton Peters.
Don't forget to click that subscribe button on Spotify. Find us, it's Salt Creating Futures, and we'll see you very soon.